Jo from SederQuilts with a quick tip Tuesday. We're going to do some border surgery today. Once in a while, borders are just a little too big. They're a little ruffly, they're a little full. I can usually ease in and do enough quilting to make them lay flat and you won't notice it. But sometimes there's just a little too much and there's a convenient place for me to take a tuck. I used to take a tuck and I would top stitch it with my quilting machine as I go, but then you can see the stitching there. If there's a seam here already where the border is pieced, I take out a few of the stitches and remove those little threads, and I can pull it a little bit this way and pull it a little bit that way and overlap that, and that works nicely. It takes out, oh my, about a ½ an inch of fullness right there. This one has a couple other spots where there's still a little too much fullness, so I'm going to show you a couple of different options. As I said, I carefully unstitched the threads that were holding this seam together in the border, and you want to get all the little threads out of there so nobody will see those. And then we're going to basically just make kind of a dart, and we're just going to cross that over. Now I could leave it at an angle there, or I could iron this flat and make it a little straighter, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to grab my iron and I'm going to iron this flat first to get rid of the crease. Just a little closer. And then I'm going to fold this so it's going to be nice and straight, and then I'm going to press it again. There might be a little bit of an angle there, but it's insignificant. No one's going to notice it. It's a busy enough print, you're not going to see it. So I'm going to be using some MistyFuse. It's a webbed, heat fusible adhesive, and we can tuck it in there and then press it, and it'll melt the glue and it'll hold it in place. I don't need to stitch it. I don't need to actually re-sew that seam there. We're going to do the same thing with these other ones, but without cutting the fabric, without an opening. We're just going to press it into place, and then we're going to sneak some MistyFuse in there. I set my crease first. Same thing over here. I'm going to set my crease, and then I'm going to see if I need to flatten and tuck things a little bit. I think that's going to work really well. MistyFuse comes on a roll. It's a thin sheet of spun adhesive. It's dry, there's no odor to it, there's no stickiness to it. It's just like a plastic web. But when you iron it, it melts and it sticks things together. So I've cut off some little bits and pieces, and when I do some little surgery things, I cut some teeny little strips with my rotary cutter, and now I have all these tiny little pieces we're going to be using. Can you see that? So we're going to gather those up, and we're going to be using some goddess sheets. They come in different sizes, and they protect your fabric and your iron from the glue in case there's a little piece sticking out. We're going to start on the easy one first. There was an actual seam. We took that apart, and now we're going to glue that shut. So I'm going to take my wider piece, and we're going to set that in here. And actually, I'm going to iron it right on the back side. Of this. Is my hand in the way too much? There. And then I'm going to cover it up. And now I'm going to iron it. I'm being very careful. So I'm supporting underneath with my left hand and I'm ironing from the top with the right. This silicone sheet helps to distribute the heat nice and evenly, and it protects everything else. Nothing sticks to this. This stuff is wonderful. And so now I have the glue right there on the folded seam, and we're going to put it over here, and now we are going to iron it down. Put my hand underneath for support again, and then we just iron it in place. And by the time it gets warm from my hand underneath, it's probably hot enough for the glue to be melting. I'll just give it a couple more passes. And then we'll lift this up, let it cool off a little bit. And now it looks like it's been sewn with a stitch there. You can't see any threads because there is no thread. And it's nice and secure, and I can stitch over that when I'm doing my border design. Now we're going to do the trickier ones. So this one does not have a seam. It's just folded over, and I've pressed it so I have a little crease. You might want to be from this side so you can see in here a little bit better. Let's just start over on that. So this one does not have an actual seam. It's just folded over and pressed. So I have a nice little crease in there, nice little spot. And I'm going to take some really narrow pieces of MistyFuse, and I'm just going to sneak them in there. Now this is not hot yet. I haven't pressed it recently, so it's just room temperature so I can work with it, and it's not going to stick to anything, but I totally want it to sneak in there, and I don't want to see any of it. If I can see it, then it's too wide. Let's get a skinnier piece. You want to tuck it in there so we can't see it from the top. Perfect. And then we're going to put another little piece down here on this end that's just a little bit bigger. That'll be perfect. And then I've got one more for in the middle here. All right, so you can see that we've got the glue all along. The MistyFuse is wonderful to work with because as long as it's cool, you can put it in there and see where it is without it sticking to anything. And once you've got it all in there, tucked in, and it's hiding, now we can get our goddess sheet and cover it up. Grab the iron. I'm going to support with my left hand from underneath, and I'm just going to press straight down. I'm not going to wiggle it too much here on this one until I've got it going there. I took one more peek to make sure we can't see any of it. Now I'm just going to press it down a little bit again. And again, voila! It looks like it was just a nice seam to begin with. And I'm going to be able to stitch over that, and you'll never even know that there was some fullness there. Ta-da! In a way, this one's going to be the trickiest because it's also a little bit full up here where the block is. So I want to iron that out a little bit, make that a little smoother, and start my dart from the corner there. And again, I'm going to let this cool a little bit before I start using the MistyFuse, because if it's too warm, it'll melt and be messy. We don't want messy. This kind of takes me back to my dental days. I used to do lots of things similar to this in the dental office. But this is much neater and cleaner. So we just tuck this into the little crevice there, and it's not quite big enough space. There we go. And then when I fold this over, I don't want to be able to see any of the shimmers of the MistyFuse. We just want to tuck it in there. I'm going to use a different instrument here. Got a little plastic tool for pushing back fingernail cuticles. Multi-purpose tools. There, now I can't see the MistyFuse in there anymore. And I've got one more skinny one we're going to tuck in kind of in the middle here. And then one more just slightly wider towards the end. And by gluing this fabric with the MistyFuse, it's so much nicer than any other product I've ever used. This does not change the way the fabric feels. You can't tell that there was glue in here. Some products get very stiff and thick and bulky. This is just wonderful stuff. Okay, I can no longer see any of the MistyFuse from the top. So we're ready to press it down. The heat activates, it melts the glue. Again, I'm supporting it with my left hand underneath. We're just pressing basically straight down. And now I'm just pressing gently and a little more to feed it all the way through. And again, ta-da! It's all glued shut. Perfect. I love MistyFuse. Thank you so much, Iris, for making such a wonderful product. Again, MistyFuse and the Goddess Sheets, they're wonderful. Tell them Paula sent you. Toodaloo.